Imagine stabbing a man 108 times. And I don't mean, once or twice in a panic. I mean 108 separate times.
It's an unimaginable number.
It is. Then you turn the knife on your own dog. Then on yourself. Police arrive to a room just covered in blood. Now imagine walking out of court without a single day in prison.
That's the part that sounds like fiction.
Welcome to California justice.
Right, and this isn't a hypothetical. This is the real case of Bryn Spejcher and the death of Chad O'Melia. If you wrote this story, people would say it's too unbelievable.
I have to say, this one has really been bothering me. We've gone through a mountain of material for this deep dive. Court documents, police reports out of Thousand Oaks, legal commentary.
It's a lot.
It is. But the real issue here, the thing we have to unpack, is how a bad trip from marijuana somehow became a get-out-of-jail-free card.
And you have to ask the question, has the system just completely forgotten the victim here? It really feels like they're rushing to empathize with the criminal instead.
Let's start with the people involved, because on paper, this makes no sense. You have Bryn Spejcher. She's not some career criminal. She's an audiologist.
A doctor, yeah. Works at UCLA Health. She's hearing impaired herself, overcame a disability to get this professional career.
A good citizen, by all accounts.
Exactly. And the victim, Chad O'Melia, was just 26, an accountant. A regular guy. They'd only been seeing each other for a few weeks.
So take us to that night, Memorial Day weekend, 2018. They're at his condo. What happens?
Well, it starts out simple enough. They decide to smoke marijuana from a bong. And this is a really key detail. Spejcher is what the court called a naive user.
Meaning she hasn't smoked much before?
Hardly at all. Maybe 5 or 6 times in her whole life. She takes one hit from the bong and then a second one.
And this clearly isn't the, get the munchies and laugh kind of high.
No,
yeah,
not at all. It was catastrophic. Within just a few minutes, she has a complete psychotic break.
What did she say it was like?
She testified that she felt like she was dead. She described this out-of-body experience, and then she started hearing voices.
Voices telling her to do what?
Telling her the only way to come back to life was to hurt Chad.
The police reports, the body cam footage, they describe a complete house of horrors.
It was a slaughter. She didn't just grab one knife, she actually grabbed 3 different ones because she kept, bending the blades or losing her grip because of all the blood.
And she stabbed him 108 times. I want that number to really sink in.
Yeah.
The physical energy that takes, the sustained fury, it's hard to process.
And it didn't end there. After Chad, she attacked her own husky, Arya.
She stabbed the dog.
Yes. And when police finally broke down the door, she was stabbing herself in the neck. Sliced her own jugular.
And they had to taser her just to get her to stop.
4 times.
Yeah.
And hit her with a baton 9 times before she finally dropped the knife. She's just completely gone. Possessed is how one officer described it.
Okay. So let's be clear. No one is arguing that she wasn't in a psychosis. The prosecution, the defense, all the experts agree it was cannabis-induced. But here's where I get stuck.
Go on.
She chose to smoke it.
That is the whole case right there. You have to separate the mental state from the cause. Yes, she was psychotic, but that psychosis wasn't. It wasn't a brain tumor that just appeared. It was a direct consequence of her choice to inhale a drug.
Exactly. If I drink a bottle of whiskey and get in my car and kill a family, I don't get to say, oh, sorry, the Jack Daniels made me think I was in the Indy 500. I go to prison. How is this any different?
Well, the way the law handled it is. It's really where you see the double standard. First, she wasn't even charged with murder. It was involuntary manslaughter.
Involuntary. After 108 stab wounds.
It all comes down to a legal term, mens rea, the guilty mind.
Yeah.
Right. For murder, you need to have malice aforethought. You have to consciously intend to kill the person in front of you. The prosecutors basically agreed that because she was hallucinating, fighting demons, she couldn't form the specific intent to kill Chad O'Melia, the person.
I can sort of follow the legal logic there, even if I hate it.
Yeah.
So they drop it to involuntary manslaughter. What does that usually get you in California?
Up to 4 years in prison.
Which is already a slap on the wrist, but okay.
This is where the whole thing just goes completely off the rails. The jury finds her guilty, no question. But they also had to decide how she got intoxicated.
And they said it was voluntary. I read that.
Yes, and this is so important. Her lawyers tried to argue that Chad had tricked her or pressured her into smoking this high-potency weed. They were trying for involuntary intoxication.
Like someone spiking your drink.
Exactly. But the jury looked at all the evidence and said, nope, you made the choice to smoke. They found her intoxication was voluntary.
So the jury did their job. You chose to get high, you killed someone, you're guilty. So how in the world does she get 0 jail time?
Well, that's when Judge David Worley steps in. A jury decides guilt, but a judge decides the sentence. And Judge Worley looked at this woman, a doctor, no prior record, and he basically ruled that her reaction was so extreme that she had no control. Those were his words. And he sentenced her to 2 years of probation and 100 hours of community service.
Community service. For butchering a man, she has to, pick up trash on the side of the highway as punishment for stabbing someone 108 times.
Pretty much. The judge felt that prison would serve no real purpose because, in his view, she didn't intend to do it.
This is why people lose all faith in the justice system. The prosecutor, Audrey Nafziger, she made the exact same point you did about the drunk driver.
Right. She said in court, if Spejcher had smoked that weed, gotten in a car, and killed someone, she would be in jail right now. No question.
It's a glaring inconsistency. A person voluntarily takes a drug, loses control, an innocent person dies. But because the weapon was a knife instead of a car, she's treated like a victim.
It's hard to see it any other way, and you have to wonder, if this wasn't a well-spoken professional from a good home, would the outcome have been the same?
No way. It's the high empathy for the well-to-do. The system looks at her and sees someone like them, a good girl, who made one bad choice. And they decided her future was more important than justice for the life she ended.
It certainly looks that way.
So I want to get into the legal weeds a bit. Was this an insanity defense? Because I keep hearing the term settled insanity.
No, it wasn't. And this is a really bizarre quirk of California law. There's a big difference between a temporary drug-induced psychosis and what the law calls settled insanity.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Basically, for drug use to make you legally insane-like, not guilty by reason of insanity, the condition has to be fixed and stable. It has to last longer than the high itself.
So you've basically done permanent damage to your brain.
Exactly. If you sober up and you're still psychotic because of long-term drug abuse, that's settled insanity. Then you can be found not guilty.
But if you're only crazy while you're high,
then you are legally sane, which Spejcher was. Once the THC wore off, she was lucid, so she didn't qualify.
Okay, wait, so if she had been found insane, what would have happened to her?
She would have been sent to a state mental hospital, locked up until doctors deemed her safe to be released.
But because she was found sane, just temporarily high, she gets probation.
That's the twisted logic of it, yes. If she were, quote, more crazy, she'd be locked up. Because she was less crazy, she walks free. The system actually creates an incentive to blame a temporary drug trick because the punishment is nothing.
That is fundamentally broken. It's an invitation. It tells people, if you're going to get high and kill someone, make sure you get really high so you can claim you had no idea what you were doing.
And it just throws out this old legal standard California used to have, the friendly local lush rule.
I saw that in the case files.
Yeah, from a case called People v. McCarthy.
Yeah.
The idea was simple. You can't use your own voluntary decision to get drunk or high as a defense. You choose to do it, you're on the hook for what happens next. This ruling just rips that to shreds.
Let's talk about the drug itself, because her defense made a huge deal about how potent modern marijuana is.
And they're not wrong about the potency. The science is clear. Back in the 90s, the average THC in marijuana was, what, 4%?
Something like that, yeah.
Today, the stuff you buy in a dispensary can be 30% THC. And the concentrates, the oils and waxes, they can push 90%. This is a totally different substance.
And it's known to cause psychosis, right?
The link is undeniable, especially for new or infrequent users. High-potency THC is strongly associated with acute psychosis, paranoia, even violence.
But here's the kicker. The pot she smoked. It had a warning label on it.
It did. It literally said on the jar, caution for high-tolerance users only.
She's a doctor, an audiologist. She can read. She saw the warning and chose to ignore it. And yet her whole defense was built around painting her as the victim.
That was the strategy. They basically argued it was consumer fraud, that she, as a naive user, couldn't have understood what high tolerance meant.
Yeah.
So the dispensary, and by extension Chad, who gave it to her, were at fault.
They blamed the dead guy.
A central part of their narrative was that she was pressured by him.
Pressured? She was a 27-year-old adult. It's not like he held a gun to her head. It's a complete abdication of personal responsibility.
It is. It's this whole modern idea that if you can point to any external factor, you're not accountable. The bong made me do it. It's infantilizing.
And it gets even more unbelievable. She's not just, quietly serving her probation. She's appealing the conviction.
That's right. She wants it completely wiped from her record.
She got probation for killing a man in one of the most brutal ways imaginable, and she's appealing for what?
A full acquittal. Her argument is that because she was legally unconscious during the stabbing, she can't be guilty of any crime at all. She wants a clean slate.
That is just the sheer arrogance of it. You took a man's life. His father has to live with that forever, and you're worried about your background check.
It just shows the total disconnect from the reality of what happened, and it proves the victim's father, Sean O'Melia, was right. His statement after the sentencing was just heartbreaking.
What did he say?
He said he just gave everyone in the state of California who smokes marijuana a license to kill someone.
He's not wrong. This sets a terrifying precedent. Now, any lawyer defending a violent crime can just cite People v. Spejcher. Your Honor, my client was psychotic from a weed gummy. He only used a baseball bat. Spejcher used a knife and got probation.
It turns voluntary intoxication into a get-out-of-jail-free card, as long as you can find one expert to say you had a psychotic break. And with today's high-potency drugs, that's not a high bar to clear.
It's a system that's lost its moral compass. It prioritizes the killer's subjective experience, their out-of-body trip over the objective reality of a dead body on the floor.
The court spent all this time analyzing her fear, her confusion. But Chad O'Melia's experience, the absolute terror of being stabbed to death in his own apartment, that just became a side note in her story.
So what's the fix? Is this just the law now in California?
Until the legislature acts. Pretty much, yeah. They need to go in and rewrite the penal code to make it explicit that a temporary psychosis from voluntary drug use is not an excuse. We have to go back to that old standard. You break it, you bought it.
But in the meantime, a woman who committed a horrific murder is walking free, tasked with doing community service to raise awareness about marijuana.
While a family is left with nothing, it's a tragedy, but it's more than that. It's a warning sign that the law has not kept up with the consequences of drug legalization.
And the gaps are being filled with victims. In a system that prioritizes the unconscious experience of the killer over the life of the victim, you have to ask, is justice blind or is it just high?
It's a question we really can't afford to keep ignoring.